All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Houston Rockets Daily, where we post daily Rockets content. If that's something you guys are interested in and you enjoy this video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We have a tweet from one of our favorites, Brado NBA, today, and here is his tweet because I'm super excited about the draft. I know we still have like 15 or so games left, and there are some things I do want to see in those last 15 games, which we'll kind of talk about here once we get through this tweet. But here's what he said. I'm hopeful the Rockets have this starting lineup by the beginning of next season. And this is interesting and fun. All right. KPJ, Jalen Green, KJ Martin Jr., Jabari, Chet, Paolo / Griffin, not huge on Griffin, and then Sengun at the bottom. So, you know, in this hypothetical lineup, we are running with KPJ for another season, which I think that's the plan. I mean, just based off his contract and based off of when we have to kind of pay certain players and when we get certain players off of our payroll, i.e. Eric Gordon, i.e. John Wall, which is in not at the end of this season, but at the end of next season, that's when the Rockets are going to look to make more free agent splashes. This is still the development period. This is still the period where you're just kind of watching these players. You're seeing what they have, what they don't have, where they can improve. Going to the off season, we'll see the development until around preseason and the regular season next year. So, I'm all for running KPJ one more year at the point guard. In fact, I think it's actually perfect, just kind of the way once again contracts work out, and then free agency in 2 years is pretty nice. So KPJ, definitely give him the keys to the offense next season. Still, I think he might be a better scorer, but that doesn't mean he can't turn into, as he is turning into, more of a passer. Just need to see a little bit improved efficiency. Jalen Green at the 2, that should be relatively obvious. Now, KJ Martin Jr., here's what I want to see. First off, friendly reminder, last 7 games of last year he started, he went about 17-8. Pretty good stats. KJ can shoot. Now, defensively, that's kind of where I run into some issues. I do want to see KJ improve on defense. It is kind of hard to improve on defense when you're not really playing consistent minutes, although in the last month or so, KJ definitely has had a more solidified role on the bench particularly. Now, this gets me talking about Jae'Sean Tate because, I really love Jae'Sean Tate, but until he develops a consistent, reliable three-point and or jump shot, I just don't think he can fit at that 3 position. And, last year was kind of fun with him playing the 4 position and Christian Wood being the 5. But, long-term speaking, I think Jae'Sean Tate's more of a culture piece, more of a 6-man for us. He sets the tone. He works hard on defense. You give him 25 minutes. Maybe you even have him close out certain games depending on the matchups. But he's a player I just want on the Rockets. And once again, his contract's up when Eric Gordon, John Wall, Christian Wood's contracts all up. They're all up at the end of next season. So, and I believe Kevin's as well. Yeah, Kevin's contract's up as well. So we have like 6 dudes that we need to make decisions about. So there isn't like a particular rush. This is where things get a little interesting. Real quick though, I do want to see KJ Martin pretty much like finish out starting the rest of the year, at least the last 10 or so games. But once again, Jae'Sean Tate kind of complicates that. I'm not really sure what Steven Silas is going to decide to do, but I know he has come out and said recently that he is looking to like group certain players together, and he is looking to start like having certain specific players get more run that haven't gotten as much run all year. So that might mean KJ could see a start over Jae'Sean Tate towards the end of the year. Now here's where it gets interesting. At the 4 spot, we have all 4 kind of top 4 out of the top 5 prospects in this year's draft. The one exception being Jaden Ivey, who he's a guard, and I don't think the Rockets are going to draft a guard. I know you're not supposed to draft off of position-wise, but I don't think there's anything Jaden does that is like, oh, he's like significantly better than any of these 4 players, Jabari, Chet, Paolo, and AJ. Kind of mentioned this earlier, I'm not as big on AJ. AJ is more of a piece where it's like, I wouldn't be upset if they were to trade a player we have or work some type of trade with Brooklyn where you group Brooklyn, maybe a future pick or whatever, and you just try and move up in the draft to try and secure AJ. The thing is, he might go number 5, so you're kind of trading up like into a top 5 pick, and you're probably going to have to give up way more than you want. And, with AJ, especially kind of playing behind Paolo, like I haven't seen enough from AJ to like warrant trading up for the 5th pick in the draft, if that makes sense. So we have Jabari, we have Chet, we have Paolo. Personally, I would be fine with any of these 3 players. I kind of started the season as a big Paolo fan. Still, I'm a big fan of all 3 of these, but I kind of started the season as more of a Paolo guy. A little bit midway through the season was more of a Chet guy when he was going like 20 and 15 with like 3.5 blocks. I mean, Chet's literally averaging like 3.5 blocks, which would be awesome. But now I'm kind of at that Jabari point where I think Jabari Smith might just be, maybe not necessarily, I don't want to throw around the word generational, but I do want to say, like, I think he could become almost like a Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham stat-wise rookie. Like, I think his ceiling is a lot higher. Actually, Chet's pretty hit or miss. I mean, he's got a pretty big ceiling. Same with Paolo. I just feel like Jabari is probably the most safe option. He's also kind of the most consistent player out there. He can play a couple of different positions. He could guard a couple of different positions. You could play him at the 3. You could play him at the 4. You have options with, honestly, Paolo as well, and, kind of Chet with that forward and center position. But I just think what Jabari showed me all this year with consistency, showing up in big-time games, if I had the 1st pick in the draft as of right now, I would probably draft Jabari Smith, unless, like, Chet goes off in the tournament. But, we're getting to the tournament. Tournament starts tomorrow. I think, actually, there are play-ins tonight. The thing with Chet and I view, it's funny because Chet and Jalen went to the same college, Gonzaga, but I view a guy like Jalen Suggs, and I'm not saying like Jalen Suggs is having a bad season. Let's look up his statistics just to get it like dead on. But Jalen had a really nice tournament last year, and I just feel like people ride that like recency bias a little too hard, and they're like, Jalen Suggs hit that game-winning shot to put in the Final Four to put their team in the national championship, and it's like he needs to go top 3. I mean, I remember making a ton of videos saying Houston Rockets might want to look into Jalen Suggs, and I feel like most of that was recency bias. This year, Jalen Suggs, statistically, it's not horrible, 12, 4, and 4, but you start looking at the efficiency, and it's disgusting, dude. This guy's averaging 36% from the field, which is not good. Even worse, 22% from downtown. He was never really known as a 3-point shooter as it is, but 22%, dude, you're literally getting outshot by Scotty Barnes, who was a worse 3-point shooter than you in college, by 10%. It's crazy. It's going to be interesting. But, the tournament at the same time, it is like a good kind of, it is kind of cool to see, like, can a player take over? Can Paolo take over a game when it matters? Can Chet take over a game when it matters? Can Jabari take over games when it matters? Like, you do kind of learn a little bit of it, but I wouldn't put all your stock into how these guys played in March Madness. I've already seen a couple Rockets people on Twitter saying, like, Chet's going to show you what he's about in the tournament, and it's going to have all of you saying we need to draft him at 1, and I'm tweeting this now, so I'm right. And it's like, well, let's hold our horses for just a second here. And then lastly, you have Sengun. So obviously this brings into the fact that Christian Wood would be traded. Now, I don't think it happens, to be honest with you, because any of those 4 players I just mentioned, Jabari, Chet, Paolo, and Griffin, all of them can play with Christian Wood. Christian Wood can play the 4. He can play the 5. All of those guys can play multiple different positions. Thing is, Sengun hasn't shown me enough where it's like I'm ready to hand him the keys to our center position. Like, if you have a player, Christian Wood's our best player, guys. If you have a player going 18 and 10 on the season, last year, 21 and 10, 21 and 9, like, and your backup isn't like, yeah, he'll have some nice starts. I just feel like Sengun gets overhyped a little too much because of how like low key he was. I'm just saying, I think Sengun's more of a project type of piece where not necessarily a Mo Bamba, but like kind of a player. He's going to need time to acclimate into the NBA. He's also 19 years old. So like, I just don't think he's shown me enough. And granted, I guess there's still some time left, but I don't think he's shown me enough where it's like I'm ready to just trade away our best player for a bag of salted chips just to have Sengun start more basketball games. Like, it's like, well, you can find minutes for Sengun off of the bench. He could even close games right now if you want to, but he's not. So Silas sees something. You know, Silas sees something. He's not ready yet. He's not ready yet. So that's it for today, man. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and for daily Rockets content, most importantly, drop a comment down below. What's your projected starting five, or actually, what's your ideal starting five for next season? I'll see you guys later.